Hello guys, today I'm gonna show you how to progress fast and efficient in a new season of Lord of the Rings Rise to War. We're gonna go through tips on factions, on commanders, on tile taking, basically everything that you need to know in order for you to dominate the season rankings. Now, the first choice you're gonna have to make within a new server is to select your faction. There are 4 factions for the evil side, 6 factions for the good side. What I would usually suggest is either choose one at random and then go with the most powerful one by transferring to another faction right from the get-go. Or if you have a group of friends, just pre-select with them what faction you want to go into and all go together there. In order to change from one faction to another faction, what you need to do is to go to your main hall, press on the 2 arrows, and then select one of the factions that you move to. Bear in mind, you can only change to a faction that's within the same alignment as yourself, so you can change from a good faction to another good faction, or from an evil faction to another evil faction. You cannot change from good to evil or from evil to good. Bear in mind as well that when you're changing from one faction to another, you are gonna lose the tiles that you have so far. Most important things in early game are troop and resource management. The more troops you have, the more tiles you take, the more resources you have, the faster you grow. But how do you actually lose as little troops as possible? First of all, choose a commander that has healing, at least for the early stages of the game, so your losses in fights are as low as possible. Someone like Gandalf the Grey, someone like Dwalin could be really good commanders for the early game. If you are in season 2, 3 or so on, I would suggest planning ahead what commanders you want to use. This might depend on the faction that you're in, on the equipment that you have, and obviously on the commanders that you have. But besides that, it's really important to have commanders that sustain your units through fights. So someone that has healing or someone that has evasion would be my top choices for the early game. I wouldn't suggest going anywhere above 4 commanders, depending on what stage of the game that you are. Use 2 to take the priority tiles, the higher tiles, and use 2 in order to build the way to those tiles. Besides choosing a commander that has healing, it's really important to scout the tiles that you plan on attacking. Now, how do you scout tiles? You go to your apothecary, you see what units you have that are dead. You choose one specific unit and you move all the units of that type into your commanders. Once you finish with that, choose one troop and one troop only for it to heal. Once it's healed, you put it on one commander and you send that commander to the tile that you want to attack. Once you have the report, you look at it, and if it has Grima or if it has trolls, for example, then avoid it at all costs. Resource management is really important as well, because without having resources you won't be able to continue building, or you won't be able to continue to hire troops that you need in order to be able to evolve. But how do we choose what we spend our resources on? In order to use them efficiently, I want to suggest 3 main things for this. First of all is the obvious one, to get as many tiles as possible, max out on tiles to get more resources. Besides that, the second thing is to focus on the main tasks. Don't build any other buildings that might be irrelevant for your early game. Focus just on the ones that appear in the tasks in order for you to get resources back and get more tiles in order to progress. Now, I finished all my tasks already for this season, but what I'm going to do, I'm gonna put a link in the description with all the tasks from chapter 1 to 20, so you can plan ahead, be more efficient with it, and get ahead of your competition in the season ranking. The third thing that's really important in the early game regarding your resources is to focus on gathering rather than mock battle. Until you get that 200 tile at least, just gather all the resources that you need and mock battle once you get to a 200 tile or above. One key aspect of the game is your ring level. The ring level depends on the ring power that you accumulated. You have a certain ring power per hour that helps you increase the level that you have. You get 1 point for every ring level that you get, and the way you spend those points affects the way your game is going a lot. So, for example, when you are in the early game, the most important thing is dominance because it gives you more tiles. The more tiles you have, the more resources you have. Besides that, what I would suggest is to go into experience and into harvest. Experience so you can get your commanders up quicker, and harvest in order to gather more resources in the early game. What I would suggest is just put 1 point in abundant power and 1 point in abundant wisdom, and not put any more points in anything until you get experience or harvest unlocked. The first one I would go into is experience because I want my commanders to grow in level as fast as possible, and then I would go into harvest. After you finish with those in the early game, the one that I would go into is control and then stamina. Control gives you more ability points, and at the same time the ability points regenerate faster, and stamina gives 30 extra stamina to your commander. These are the main ones for the early game, but once you are past that early game, once you finish with gathering the resources and you focus on mock battling, then get your mock battle more efficient in order to grow your commanders faster. Another thing that I would suggest is to plan ahead when it comes to events and season progress. If you look in season progress, the second one is gonna make it possible so that tips give experience to your commanders. What I would suggest, if your server can get to that point in the first 24 hours, keep all the tips that you have from the first day until that point so you can get some extra experience on your commander. The same way, there is an event that requires for you to strengthen equipment. There is no point to strengthen equipment before that event. Just wait until the event, strengthen the equipment that you want to strengthen, and get the additional rewards as well. If you look in the event tab under notice, you're gonna see the events that come up in the future. So what I would suggest is to always check those out and see if there's any way for you to do them as fast as possible in order to progress as fast as possible. If you decide to spend any money in this game, I would suggest to spend them efficiently, as efficient as possible. If you are a whale and you want to throw money at the game, then that's totally fine. But if you are a moderate spender, I would suggest to, first of all, get the pack for Aragon. For example, if you're on the good side, it's a couple of dollars and you get an extra commander, which helps a lot in the early game of the first season. Second of all, I would suggest to get the season pass because over the period of the season you'll get the most amount of rewards for your money. And third of all, if you're gonna spend on anything else, there is a pack that's a couple of dollars for 10 matching chest openings, and I would suggest to go for that one because it has the best value for your money. If you are uprooted, you get a pack that you can buy for $5 that would last for only 24 hours for you to buy it. That would give you a relocate and also free stamina potions that you can use in the following season. What I mean by this, usually with stamina potions, you see that they're only usable in the current season. The ones in the pack do not have that and transfer from one season to another. The same way with the relocation ability. So you can do this in order to have more stamina in the first 24 hours. Overall, I do not suggest spending any money on the game because it is a game that you'd be playing for a long period of time in order to evolve. And over time, the difference between someone that spent a lot of money and someone that didn't spend that much or didn't spend at all are gonna diminish quite a lot. That's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.